Hi everyone, it's Kasia from Tarot Map. Welcome to my channel. Happy International Children's Day. Today in this video I'm going to be chatting to you about perfect decks that you can use for inner child work, in my opinion. And also we are going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in tropical Gemini, but in the stars of Taurus constellation. I'm going to be talking about it from two perspectives. Tropical one, the moon in Gemini, but also true sidereal one, which is talking about which stars in the actual sky the moon is activating for us to, resonate and revibrate with. So these two perspectives will be mentioned later on in the video. But let's start with the decks. Since during this new moon, a powerful new moon. Why? Because it's also Venus star point. So Venus is in conjunction with the Sun. She kind of disappears and rebirths herself. And Venus is a wonderful planet that has this very regular cycle of 8 years. So with Venus star point moving into the tropical Gemini as well, or you will want to think what happened 8 years ago or 4 years ago to 2016 or 2020, because Venus star point was going 8 years ago. She was Gemini star point as an evening star and as a morning star 4 years ago. Now Venus is going to rebirth herself, come out of the underworld. Every time Venus is in conjunction with the moon, she's going to go through a very powerful gate. And often people work with those conjunctions as working with the energy of Kundalini, walking through your chakras. So starting at the very bottom, at the base chakra, and going up and reclaiming the power of each of this energy center. So this is a very beautiful, powerful, intuitive work. So if you're interested, there's a lot of people doing it. But Venus star point is moving into Gemini, and Gemini is an air sign. So we have a lot of qualities that are going to be activated around our communication. And because Gemini is a relational sign, it's the feminine, the minus, and the masculine, the plus, that attract one another. And we are going to be seeing a lot of shifts and openness and empowerment in communication. So to the decks, because Venus rules good things, beautiful things, especially Venus in the stars of Taurus, which she is actually moving through right now. And if you, I'm just going to change the camera and show you how that looks in the real sky. So this is how it looks in the real sky. This is the constellation of Taurus, stars of Taurus, as you can see here. Also very close is the constellation of Orion, which is kind of hunting the bull. But this one is an interesting area of the sky right now because it's totally lit up. So we can see that Uranus is kind of hanging in between Aries and Taurus, but moving into the stars of Taurus very, very soon. Jupiter, Mercury, Sun, Moon, and Venus, all in conjunction here, as you can see, are moving through the constellation of Taurus. And this is a very interesting constellation. And in the tropical system, if we move out of this system and go back to the chart of tropical astrology, we can see that all this conjunction, aside of Uranus, which is at the end of Taurus as well, is happening in the tropical sign of Gemini. So if you're still confused about the two systems, don't worry about it. You probably will be hearing more about the tropical Gemini. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can connect and combine the two systems just to have a wider, more complex, more celestial and broader view at astrology at this moment. But again, before we move into these astrological insights, let's talk a little bit about the inner child and because of the International Children's Day, which I only remember about because of the children of my sister, my niece, and my nephew. And what decks would I suggest, or what decks do I appreciate for working with inner child? We know that inner child work can be really tough. It can be a very deep shadow work for many people, depending on what, you know, your childhood looked like and how you were conditioned and appreciated and so on. So I chose a variety of decks, but I think for me, inner child work comes quite naturally. I, in most parts, had a very good childhood. So I picked decks that are gentle, fun, and just like healing, but also, yeah, funny, like, you know, light. So one that I really love for this type of energy, if you just want to use regular Rider-Waite-Smith, is one of Carol Herzer's, I know, don't hate me guys, one of Carol Herzer's decks, and this is the Elemental Rainbows. And this deck is really so sweet. I'm going to show you, show this to you when I change the camera view. So why this deck? I think this is a beautiful deck. It's a deck that, first of all, it's color coordinated, so it's quite easy to recognize what elemental powers are going on, you know, within your reading. And it's small, it's colorful, it has like really beautiful, simple imagery. It's not, it's kind of like neutral, you know, it's not scary. Even the scarier cards seem like just really beautiful and sparkly. So in some way, I really appreciate Carol's work because I feel like she's integrated all the so-called negative cards, you know, so all the shadow cards. I always love how Devil looks in her decks. It's so incredible. So I think this this Elemental Rainbows, I have it in glitter version, but you can get it without glitter. It's not that expensive then. This is a really, really wonderful deck to just play with if you want to use regular Rider-Waite-Smith. I do think that for any type of work with your psyche and with your ego and with your conditioning, sometimes it's really good to use decks that you actually maybe don't know so well, or oracle decks even. Another deck that I thought was like really beautiful for the inner child work was this gorgeous Tarocchi or Tarocchi Floreali. So the spirit, what is it called? The Spirit of Flowers Tarot. And this I have to thank for my friend Leanne. She sent me this deck as a gift when I was looking for it. I think the images are so cute, and yeah, again, you know, depending on the childhood, depending on the wounding, depending on the trauma, of course, you might find these decks just annoying for shadow work and for inner child work. But for me, because as I said, my childhood was very fairly happy, I actually love using these decks. So they don't annoy me, you know, there is just something sweet about it. I also think that maybe even if your childhood was, you know, traumatic in certain ways, these decks might be good to just become your own parent and to reparent those parts of yourself that maybe weren't appreciated as they should have been. So this Tarocchi Floreali or the Spirit of Flowers Tarot is very, very cool. Another deck that I thought was very sweet for this work is the Future Ancestor Tarot. And this can be taken with the grain of reclaiming responsibility for your life. So this is a Future Ancestor Tarot. Even if you don't have kids like myself, we are becoming the future ancestors. So in a way, doing the best we can and taking into consideration and being like the life that we have led and that we have choices to make to live, if we have choices, because, you know, in many countries in the world right now, people, that whatever we're talking here about is just like fuck off, you know. But we also are alive where we are. And I was just thinking about, you know, like growing up in communism, like going through so many different systems that like try to repress the individuality, the creativity. It's just really fascinating to look at how human spirit, even when it's crushed, it can really rebirth itself. And with Venus star point moving through this Gemini, I think part of our job for people who can do it right now is communicating, but not communicating in polarities. Yes, stating the truth, but not going into blame and just doing the divisional split and choosing sides. I think with Venus star point and so many stars or planets moving through the sign of tropical Gemini, the power of communication, the power of our words, the power of how we can heal through communication, how we can through communication connect and oversee and try to understand both sides, and how we can create new models, new modes of communication. So it's not a repetitive split and separation on 50-50 and one side is blaming the other and the other side is blaming the other. Like, how can we improve our communication so it is a unifying mode of or model, so that we can actually do exchange? And for people who can do it right now, connecting to what you love, connecting to what you are passionate about, connecting to your connecting your thinking, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and understanding also from the perspective of celestial advice when everything is happening in the stars of constellation of Taurus, how we can take a bigger perspective on things and not think from a very narrow human only related mind. I think this is this exchange of focusing on what we love, talking about what we love rather than blaming other people, pointing fingers at other people, focusing and shifting the frequency of that split and separation that's happening in humanity. It may just start from a very small one individual and go forward. I was just listening to what are they called? To Bella Alvaron and David Farrell, and they just posted this video about the white magnetic spell. Bella is doing this Mayan calendar thing, also pointing out how our time based on this Gregorian calendar is like time is money. You know, she was like, I'm just kind of rephrasing her words, time is money. We so conditioned to thinking about time in a certain like productive way. There are other ways to look at time. So she's like showing all these other Mayan approach and Mayan calendar and all these cycles. So you can go and take a look at their video. I'm going to link it below. I'm listening to this last video they put out, really made me think about time and how I love also looking at the star-based astrology, not just tropical-based astrology, and how that helps me to understand like bigger perspective. If this is a human life, this is from Karnitzor's deck, and in her perspective, the constellation or stars of Taurus and like, you know, Orion is in the same kind of bit of heavens, are in the realm of the key. And this is understanding and finding answers for very basic questions, like what are the laws of Earth, what are the laws of the universe, what are the laws of celestial happenings, of cosmos, of cosmic laws, and understanding this elemental level, then going higher to understanding like universal laws and so on. So Gemini and Taurus come together really nicely in this kind of time, and becoming the future ancestors for the children, even if we don't have them ourselves. It's really important, and that comes with gentleness, with understanding, with focusing on your passion, with forgiveness, with practicing compassionate action, with keeping the sense of humanity in the face of lack of it. Because if we just go with this narration of hate, of war, that there is no change, it's just going to perpetuate itself. So I think this beautiful kind of balancing that needs to happen within each one of us through this Gemini right now. This is about exchange of life words, life knowledge. It's important to get rid in our own lives of the war language. And I did a video about it when the war in Ukraine started. You can rewatch it, I link it below. The language we speak, the words we use, war on cancer, defeat. We are raised and conditioned to think war. How can we do it differently? And I think that would be really perfect to the children, to become the future ancestors, that maybe we can create a little bit different perspective for our younger people, rather than get them, just give them the same stuff we were fed with. When I thought, I grew up in Cold War, West is our enemy, and I've just rewatched this video on YouTube, on this series on Netflix. It's called Osiecka, about one of our poem songwriter and poet, and just a journalist. And yeah, she was living during this communistic stuff when there was censorship. She couldn't. It's just remind me my genes, my DNA. I felt it in my body. It's quite scary shit when that happens. And it feels like it's repeating itself, like history repeats itself. So how can we step up and balance? And this is the time is now. This is important time. And Venus making that star point in Gemini as well creates that rebirth that each one of us needs to pay attention to in our own lives. Don't expect it from anybody else, practice this. And it takes practice, because it's so easy to slip in, because we just conditioned and drank it with mother's milk. Another beautiful deck for inner child work, I think, is this creative consciousness healing. I'm really curious what you think about, these different times and healing and future ancestry. What would you like to leave for future generations? This deck is very sweet, it's very cute, and even though it looks very childlike, it's actually a really beautiful, soulful, healing deck. So this one would be great for a good hug. I forgot one deck. The Cozy Witch Tarot is amazing for any type of healing work. So if you watch my channel, you will know what I'm talking about. Cozy Witch Tarot. I'm not going to get up anymore. Lemurian Starchild Oracle. Really great deck also for doing work on a different level. This one is more energetic. This one can give you insights into the celestial, broader, purpose-driven explanations. Sometimes things happen to us. Sometimes, I think most of the times, all the time, things happen to us for a reason. If we chose them as experiences, or if this is a part of a bigger web that we are not able to understand from this perspective, I feel there's this different dimensions we have been living, or we have lived. And I feel like this deck is really great to access a little bit different perspective on what's happening, why is this happening to me, and so on. All these questions we want to ask when we go or through some hardships, or when we work on something that was happening to us in the past. Happy Tarot. It's so cute. This one is really mass market. It's easy to get. I hope it's still available. I'm pretty sure it is. It's just one of these, bring a little bit of bubblegum tea and just happiness and joy into Rider-Waite-Smith. And the little white book, it's also very sweet. So I'm going to pick one card for us, and let's see what the little guidebook will say. So again, happy International Child Day. And let's see what's the message from the Happy Tarot for each one of us. So we got the Chariot, and this is how that looks. And I'm just going to look for the Chariot and tell you the tiniest, like it's a very short one, description, but I think it's pretty cute. So Chariot says, you're really on your way now. Nothing will stop you on the road to success. Only good things lie ahead on your path. It's a very positive one. And every card has this. You can find happiness by taking the reins of your life in your own hands. So this is the advice. Don't wait for saviors. Don't look at your neighbors. Do what you can do in your life to take the reins of happiness in your own hands. Connect to your passions. Share what's important for you. If you are an active participant, you have, this compassion and ability to talk about Palestine and Israel right now, talk about this. If this is, where your resonance lies. If you need to talk about earth, and there's so much we can talk about, and it's important for you to resonate with this truth. When you talk about this thing but not about that one, it doesn't mean that you don't care about both of them. You might care about both, but there's different people to make us aware of different issues. So just like resonate with what's important to you, balance this within, because only then the exchange that's happening comes from the real place. It's not just like repeating somebody else's words. Okay, another one that I think is really cute, and this is for the Marseille lovers, is the Pip Speak Tarot, and then also the Playful Heart Tarot by Zara from Kitten Chops Tarot. This one is so sweet. It's like the cutest fucking thing ever. It's gilded, it's linen, it has little sparkles, it has a couple of oracle cards added to here. It's Pip deck, so if you like Marseille, you will be like geeking on this one. It's very traditional deck, but in this sweet new clothing, and I just love this deck, and the size of it is perfect. It shuffles like a dream. It's beautiful. So Zara makes in general like really amazing deck. So if you love this one, you also probably know and love her other deck. Very perfect for inner child work, for appreciation of the creativity of inner child. I think Zara is like a perfect example of an adult who developed like a beautiful connection with her own inner child, and thus can, give it to us as well. All right, so these were the decks that I think are really important. Coming back to astrology, as I said, the moon is, let's speak about tropical astrology for a while. So the moon is in the sign of Gemini, and here this is a child of air. And you can see this like kind of two heads that accent on our intellectual capacity, but also on our social engagement. Gemini is social. Gemini is called social butterfly. It is ruled by the god Mercury, by planet Mercury. And Mercury was the only one that could travel between the worlds. It could go into the underworld and come out. The only one that could do it without getting stuck there. It has this very significant and very characteristic wings on the hat that he's wearing. It carries Caduceus with wings as well, and it conveys information, it shares information. So during this phase, when so much was happening in this tropical sign of Gemini, when the moon, sun, Venus, star point, Venus conjunction with the sun is happening in Gemini as well, this is a perfect time for watching your words. Words are spells, right? And this is 5 of Wands, so also any internal conflicts that we are having, any internalized battles that are happening within us, this is something where you want to pay attention to, because see what you put into your head and what comes out of your mouth. It will be of paramount importance for the next year and a bit, when Jupiter is also moving through the tropical sign of Gemini. And Jupiter, as being a guru, a teacher, you know, it can exaggerate things, bring things out. So working with like having this new moon and Venus star point at the same time, and so much action going on in the sign of Gemini. Uranus slowly moving through the end of Taurus, tropical Taurus, will be moving into Gemini also not that long. It's important, you know, because this is like the revolutionary waves that are like allowing us to access that true internal loving relation between parts of ourselves that maybe need a ritual, also an understanding of all these different 5 perspectives. So elemental power, but also that exchange, social exchange of passions, rather than criticizing, focusing on your neighbors, what they're doing, why they're doing it. Like, look at yourself. What are you doing? What are you putting out there? What is your passion? How can you create harmonious, loving frequency and put it out through your words into the world? It's very, very important at this time. So how does it go with the, what does the stars, what do the stars actually tell us? Because tropical astrology, as you know, is very connected to the path of the sun and how Earth and sun dance together, right? And from the perspective of Earth, we see the planets and sun moving through a pathway which we call ecliptic. And on the ecliptic, there are certain constellations that are important for us from the perspective on Earth. But what tropical astrology did, it actually split ecliptic into 12 equal parts. And the stars of these constellations just like project onto the degrees of these equal parts of the ecliptic. I hope that makes sense, but it's important to know that tropical astrology doesn't reflect what's happening in the sky when it comes to the stars. So if you say, follow your stars, you're not really following your stars when you use tropical astrology. You're following the sun and the earth and how they dance and interrelate together. So what I see tropical astrology is like it's a day map. What's happening during the day? The sun is rising in the east. The sun is in the midheaven in the midday. The sun is setting in the west. The sun is like, you know, dark, goes away, dies in the IC of the chart. But the true sidereal astrology, the stars, actually, the astrology, the discipline that follows the stars, it's actually a true sidereal astrology, and that gives you a night perspective. So that opens up like a different level of understanding, not just that what's visible, but also this that's bigger, a little bit hidden, that you have to make an effort to see. And my point for tropical is I love tropical. I use tropical all the time for the last 20 years. Tropical is my go-to astrology to predict cycles and so on, because it's so, like, it's fixed to seasons. So it's, you know, it's happening, it's easy to measure. It has oppositions and so on, but maybe it does keep us stuck a little bit in this opposing kind of dimension. Through sidereal, it's a little bit more chaotic, like real life. It has more constellations that are on the ecliptic. It adds Ophiuchus constellation. Probably if you wanted to be, you know, like smart, you could say, oh, planets go through more constellations than just the 13th, but the sun moves really only through these 13 constellations of the ecliptic. So other planets like the moon and other planets, they cross into Cetus and so on, but Ophiuchus is one of the constellations that actually is on the ecliptic, but because it takes the same space as Scorpio, it was omitted, maybe because it has a little bit less brighter stars. Maybe because the harmony and beauty of tropical zodiac, it's like with the 12, it's like really amazing. But then when you go with 13, it's like so magical, and you get that extra mystery kind of element into it. This is becoming like a really long video, but so in tropical astrology, we're focusing on air element, on communication, on how we express ourselves, on what we put into our minds, how we, what comes out of our mouths. And what's interesting that the stars that this new moon activates are actually the stars of Taurus. So in Julie Scuccia deck, which is called Real Sky Astrology Tarot, she speaks of Taurus as death. Taurus used to be the first sign of the first constellation. This was the first constellation that was rising over the eastern horizon since the humanity kind of started noticing the stars, as far as we know at least. And then, it moves anti-clockwise, then it went into Aries, then it went into Pisces. Now we're in the Pisces era, and we're moving into the era of Aquarius, right? But what's interesting with this, that Taurus is an earth sign. So we have so much air going on earthly perspective, communication, relations, social engagement, bringing people together, creating a way of communicating that brings people together rather than separates them. Look at how our language becomes like horrific in certain comments on social media and so on. Use social media to benefit humanity rather than harm humanity. There's so much we can do. We have so much to our disposal to benefit the whole of humanity. It's really time to start engaging in this within our own lives, especially. And Taurus is earth sign, fixed earth. So from the stars perspective, from the perspective that maybe human brains, like we need to make an effort to do it. This is interesting that this is also showing that something is shifting, something is changing. The star that's kind of closest to this conjunction is actually in the constellation of Orion. It is the star of Regal. And Regal is actually a very beautiful star. It is in the, from what I'm seeing here, is on 1650 degrees Gemini, and it's in Orion's foot. And Orion has this Orion belt. It's connected to pyramids. It's a very powerful constellation. So it's a technical and artistic ability star. So, it signs up into, first of all, Gemini with like speaking and creating and writing, but also Taurus that's ruled by Venus, and this Venus star point happening there that calls for like finding our voice, opening up that throat chakra. We have the ability now to, speak. Throat is ruled by Taurus as well. To speak our truth, realigned to us, to speak about our passions, to awaken to our creativity, to share our power, our passion, our love with other people, and let other people share their love. Not everybody will be talking, doing the same thing. We're all different, but we can all create and share and benefit from an honest creation with one another. So this Regal, which is in projects onto Gemini, part of ecliptic, but it's actually in Orion's part of this constellation. It's about inventiveness, it's about humor, it's about riches and happiness. It's a fortunate star traditionally. So with Taurus constellation, it's interesting that Taurus and Gemini are not that far ahead, not that far away from one another. And in Carney's, especially in Carney's deck, which is the holistic astrological cards, the realm of the key talks about wanting to find answers to very basic, important questions. And here in Julie's deck, I realized Moon in Taurus is Mother of Swords as well. So it's like really thinking about important things, seeing the connections between things, seeing the elemental level of things on earth, our 5 elements and how they connect and support one another, but also then reaching up for like universal laws, having the key to the universal governing laws, and then that opens up the celestial perspective, and the stars are always there and giving us advice. And in this case, stars of Taurus giving us advice of like curiosity, finding our vocal cords, resonance with our words, and that what we truly think. How can we be creative, fertile through our ideas, and actually manifest those ideas through our bodies, through our minds, and through our words? That's our spells. So the throat chakra, heart chakra, I think the third eye chakras are very important right now. And the stars of Taurus call for us for like stabilizing the idea of the ideas that we want to birth, and for manifesting them, and for actually discovering and searching for the origin of things and searching for the truth. So it's a long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as I said, this tropical and true sidereal systems work really well, because tropical really shows us what's important right now, like on a very deep level for us here on Earth. And this Gemini energy is real. It's the sun is like beaming on it, right? But the stars, the perspective of the stars, what actually is advisable as well, what we want to like work on, make an effort towards growth, is through the constellation of Taurus, through the stars of Taurus, through the star of Regal, which is in Orion's foot. And it's embarking on this broader perspective that gives us strength to see a little bit beyond the immediate suffering, and understand maybe bigger waves of why things are as they are, and not reacting straight away emotionally to everything, and especially reacting to the way the system wants us to react. So split us, separate us, make us hate one another. We want to reshape that, shift it, change those perspectives. It's possible, we can do it. And this Venus star point and new moon in tropical Gemini or in the stars of Taurus, I really want us to stabilize, root that new frequency of different communication, different connections between one another in our bodies, so that we can receive more light. Because also, as Bella Alvaran has mentioned, Venus is rebirthing herself with the new moon, with the star, with the sun of the, light of the sun. We may be receiving more uploads, more light, meaning more higher frequencies, that we can understand bigger waves, bigger weavings, bigger plan of how this universal things work, and how we are part of it and not the masters of it. All right, I said my bit. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know what you're thinking. There's a lot of stuff, I keep thinking about it. Of course, this is not something that like, oh, I said it, I know about it. No, this is something that interests me and that I want to really feel, and allow to sit in and be embodied in my own life. And that's practice. That doesn't just come and go. I mean, it can happen, but you know what I mean. Thank you for watching. Much love.